So the first reactions are out for Madame Web. The film just had its premiere recently, and the first reactions are coming out on Twitter. We're going to be breaking them down in this video, seeing whether or not the film was receiving positive reception, negative reception, or mixed. And yeah, so it took me a little while to scramble up a lot of these reactions because there were not a lot that I could find on Twitter, but these are all authentic, real reactions from people who actually attended the premiere. So let's get into the first reaction, which states, Madame Web is totally fine. There's really not a lot to say here. The leads are charming. Dakota Johnson is a witchy weirdo. The slasher / Final Destination meets superheroes vibe are there, but there's just not a whole lot to it. Not a disaster, just kind of there. So starting off, very mediocre, very medium, very middling, nothing too positive, but also nothing too negative, right? Not saying it's an outright awful film, but straight up not saying that it's a great film, you know, or even a good film. So this is a very much like a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10 review. So that's not exactly encouraging going straight into the film because, you know, obviously Sony has a reputation with these films that they're not very good. Other than the two Venom films, which are, I think, that Venom 1 and Venom 2 are pretty good movies. Obviously Morbius is just atrocious. Nobody thinks Kraven's going to be any good, and pretty much everybody expected this to be good, but I thought the trailer was interesting, so I was excited. But yeah, starting off with a pretty average first reaction, so that's not very great. But let's go to the next one. This next one states, Madame Web is awful. I tried to enjoy it, but sadly the poor execution wouldn't help it. The cast is definitely great, but the performances were definitely disappointing. Sony got to stop making these films. So again, a very, very negative one. You know, the first one was sort of middling, sort of average, but this is definitely negative. Now, you may be wondering, a lot of these reactions I'm getting aren't from the major like reviewers on Twitter. It was very hard for me to find some pretty authentic reactions, but just because I think that the entire conversation around this film just isn't that large, and not many people are even talking about it. But yeah, so that's why these reactions are a bit like, you know, random, like, and out of nowhere, but these are all authentic and these are real reactions. So this is sort of what the general audience thinks. But yeah, very, very bad first reaction coming out of the film, saying it's awful. And even the performances from the actresses, who I think are really good, don't seem to be that great in the film based on this reaction. So that is, again, not very good. So let's take a look at this next one, see if this next one is any better. This next one states, Madame Web is a passable movie with bizarre choices. The plot is lackluster, featuring powerless yet to be heroes in a scattered story that leads nowhere. Its charming performances, sleek cinematography, and 2000s nostalgia are welcome, but can't quite save it. So again, a little bit similar to the first reaction, not so much to the second reaction, but very similar to the first reaction in talking about how it's a passable movie. You know, it's not awful, but it's not great, or it's not even good, you know. So, but you know, this is all sort of expected. I don't think anybody expected this film to be great, but honestly, I'm a little bit relieved to even hear that some people are finding it passable, because again, I thought the trailers were fine, right? And I was definitely interested in the film. Like, I expected it to be bad because, again, Sony doesn't have a good track record with these films, but it would be very disappointing to find out this film is absolutely terrible. But so far, we're seeing some pretty average reviews saying it's just okay, you know? To be honest, we really shouldn't even be at this level of being grateful that a movie is just okay. We should be expecting these films to be great, but at this point in Sony, we are just not seeing that. So that's quite disappointing that that's the level that we're at. But this next one comes from Chris Parker, and this says, Madame Web is an embarrassing mess. Talented stars wasted on probably the worst comic book movie I have ever seen. Filled with atrocious dialogue, awkward editing, and all-around laughable structure. I sat there baffled, scene by scene, someone approved this. The memes will redeem it. So, very, very negative, much more similar to the second reaction that we looked at, stating that it's terribly written, very weirdly edited, you know, talent wasted. So that, again, is just very, very, you know, not encouraging at all. And I honestly, I believe it, because, you know, these states in the reaction that it has atrocious dialogue. In the trailer, a line sort of went viral for being horribly written. I think the line was, it was Dakota Johnson's character, you know, Madame Web, saying about Ezekiel Sims, who was the villain of the film. She says, he was in the Amazon with my mum when she was researching spiders right before she died. And I remember hearing that when I watched the trailer, and I thought, that is an awful line. Like, before it even went viral. Like, that is truly a terrible line, and I'm not surprised that the movie's getting, I guess, critiqued because of its awful writing and awful dialogue. So nobody should be surprised by that. But yeah, look, I'm gonna be honest, I am disappointed because as much as I expected it to not be good, you always hold out hope that these films are gonna be good, you know? Everybody wants them to be good. You know, why wouldn't you want this to be a great movie? I mean, like, nobody expected it to be. The trailers I thought were interesting, and I was like, imagine if this actually turns out to be good. That would be really, really great. But nobody expected it to be good, and it's disappointing. It is, because I think Sony, it's strange what they're doing with these films. I mean, obviously Sony are nailing it out of the park with the Spider-Verse films, you know, the animated Miles Morales Spider-Man films. But, their live action films just aren't working. Like, other than the 2 Venom films, which did well in the box office and were pretty well reviewed, Kraven, Madam Web, and Morbius, especially Morbius, are just not doing well. Kraven hasn't come out yet. It was delayed like a full year, and everybody's saying it looks awful. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's just, this is very strange. And also, you know, it's strange to wonder about their intentions, because the producers and writers and or whoever, people involved with the making of the film, this film specifically, came out and said it's not connected to Venom or to Morbius or to those other universes. So I'm like, what the fuck is the point of making it? If you're not going to make like a character-driven, really great story, then why are you making a Madam Web film? You know, I mean, if it's not going to connect and it's not going to be good, then why are you even making it? Why are you bothering to make it? Like, truly, did they think it's going to make money? I don't think it's going to make any money, even though it's coming out around Valentine's Day. I don't think this film is going to do well, especially because based on those first reactions that I read out, it doesn't look good. I mean, like, I'm expecting around a 40 to 50 range in the Rotten Tomatoes, like 40% to 50%, and that's being generous, to be honest, because some of the reactions that I read out said it was okay. Said it was a passable movie, but those other ones, the ones that didn't like it, really didn't like it, and the ones that sort of did, just thought it was okay. So that's not very encouraging for Madam Web. And I don't expect it to make money. Valentine's Day is usually a time, like a good movie release time for films to come out, because obviously it's like a date night, people go see a movie, it's sort of a structure, it's sort of a, you know, it's a well-established thing. But I don't think this is a Valentine's Day movie, you know, it's not a romance. I mean, maybe, I don't know, this is not a film that you would, I guess, normal people would go see on Valentine's Day, but I don't know. Maybe, look, maybe the film will do well, I don't know, like, but all factors are pointing towards the film flopping, and it just being really weird. And also, the film has some really weird attention going on, and really weird stories surrounding it. Like, a lot of the actors are coming out and saying they thought they were signing up for the MCU. You know, like Dakota Johnson came out and said that she talked to Elizabeth Olsen about joining, and I was thinking, why would you talk to her about it? Like, it's not like you guys are a part of the same thing. And Sydney Sweeney said that, you know, her agents were heavily involved with signing her up to the MCU when she thought she was going into the MCU. So yeah, the whole thing is strange. But anyway, those were the first reactions for Madam Web. Like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.